Hello and welcome to this week's video email titled, What if very young children aren't too young? This coming week, many schools across the UK will be recognising Refugee Week, whose theme this year is courage. When we hear that word, it's natural to think first of the courage shown by refugees themselves, people who leave behind homes, communities and familiar ways of life, often in circumstances most of us can scarcely imagine. But perhaps courage takes many forms. Sometimes courage means asking difficult questions. Sometimes it means remaining curious rather than making assumptions. And sometimes it means finding age-appropriate ways to talk with young children about the realities of the world around them. Whenever the topic of refugees arises, I often hear a familiar concern. Young children are far too young to learn about refugees. I understand where that concern comes from. None of us want to burden children with information that feels frightening or overwhelming. But I wonder if the issue isn't whether children are too young. Perhaps the question is whether adults are struggling to imagine age-appropriate ways of introducing the concept. After all, young children are already beginning to understand many of the building blocks that sit beneath the word refugee. They understand what it feels like to leave somewhere familiar. They understand missing people. They understand finding comfort in community. They understand helping someone feel welcome. And they understand that people sometimes have experiences different from their own. This is where contextual understanding becomes so important. When we avoid a topic entirely, children often fill the gaps for themselves. When we provide thoughtful context, however, we help them build understanding rather than assumptions. This is one of the reasons why our musical diversity alphabet begins where it does. Our very first letter, A, introduces the children to the remarkable Sahrawi singer Aziza Brahim. Aziza was born in a refugee camp after her mother fled Western Sahara. Refugee status is undeniably part of her story, but it isn't the whole of her story. She's also a musician, a songwriter, a performer, a daughter, mother, and cultural ambassador, and an artist whose music is heard around the world. Perhaps this is one of the most important lessons we can offer children, that no single label should ever define a person. When we encounter someone, we have the option of seeing only a category, or we can become curious about the human behind it. Refugee, teacher, parent, child, disabled, musician, immigrant, leader. Each may tell us something, but nothing tells us everything. Our musical diversity alphabet consistently explores perspective, participation, assumptions, accessibility, identity, belonging, listening, empathy, context, and systems. And the story of Aziza Brahim reminds us why. True diversity awareness isn't about collecting labels. It's all about understanding people. And perhaps that brings us back to courage. The courage shown by those whose stories we share. The courage to see people as more than a single label. And the courage as educators, parents and carers to trust that young children are capable of developing empathy, curiosity and contextual understanding when we help them to do so thoughtfully. Perhaps children are far more ready for these conversations than we realise. We just need to be brave enough to try. In what ways are you going to be courageous this week? Wishing you a good one and many thanks for watching. See you in the next one.